Hello everyone, I'm Captain Logan, and welcome once again to the vast and ominous comic book vault. It's time once again for new acquisitions. I've got 5 brand new books for you this week, and let's kick it all off with Marvel, starting with Daredevil number 22, written by Mark Waid and with art by Chris Samney. This is an issue that I really expected was going to not amount to much of anything. I knew it was going to include a team-up with the Superior Spider-Man, and that the villain was going to be Stiltman. I figured this would be kind of a fill-in issue and sort of a fun kind of vintage Spider-Man team-up sort of story. Boy, was I mostly wrong about that, and I guess I should never underestimate the genius writing of Mark Waid, who continues to impress me every issue. Here, we do get a fun team-up with Daredevil and Dr. Octopus and Spider-Man's body. It's very smart the way it's handled, because Daredevil, unlike some of the characters over in the Superior Spider-Man book and Amazing before that, actually picks up very quickly on how Spider-Man is acting very strangely. He's friends with Peter Parker, he knows him very well, and he's not sounding like himself. He sounds like a supervillain. He sounds like Dr. Octopus, and at multiple points he finds himself thinking, who talks like this, and why is Spider-Man so quiet so much of the time? Most importantly, right out the gate, why is he attacking me? We find out that he's brought into kind of the tiff that he's having with Kristen, and it all kind of boils down to somewhat of a misunderstanding, which admittedly was a little bit odd. I'm not real sure why Spider-Man is going around attacking superheroes just because somebody tells him, hey, this superhero did something bad and needs to be attacked. I thought that was kind of strange. But Doc Ock as Spider-Man is kind of all over the place right now, so we'll see if he ever kind of coalesces into deciding what kind of a superhero he's going to be. But anyway, so this issue is definitely more than just that, and it's very much about the nature of friendship, and Daredevil kind of dealing with the secrets that he has kept from people that have kind of damaged relationships. And I think that there is somewhat of a parallel drawn with the Superior Spider-Man, with how Doc Ock, of course, is not telling him everything, and that he really is not Spider-Man, that he really is not Peter Parker, and Daredevil can pick up on this, and he realizes, regardless of what his senses tell him, that this is not really his friend. And I think at the end, he starts to think maybe it really is Peter Parker, but there's just something wrong with him, but there's still something off about it, and he says, call me if you need anything, you seem like things are really off, and he's really learning that you can't just leave all these really important things up in the air and not tell your friends about them, because if you can't, of course, the old adage, if you can't talk to your friends, who can you talk to? And things are really moving along in the Matt and Foggy department. That's all I'll say about this, is that we might have thought after last issue that we weren't going to see Foggy for a while, and he does pop back up here, and there are more developments about that. There's also a major revelation at the end of this issue with regards to Foggy that I think is really going to propel us into a new chapter for this book, and it was sad, a little gut-wrenching, and I didn't see it coming, and I really enjoyed that there was this that the humor in this book is really counterbalanced with some heavy drama, which I seem to say every issue. That is still the case with this one. There's this really fun bit where Doc Ock says, in Spider-Man's body, coming to attack Daredevil. Really, this almost like cliched, we have to fight and then we have a team-up kind of thing. And I think Waid is aware of this and is poking fun of it. And Spider-Man says, the die is cast. And Daredevil says, who talks like that? A couple pages later, you have Stiltman with his new and improved costume, who makes his entrance saying, the die is cast. It absolutely cracked me up. Once again, a really great issue of Daredevil, and if you thought that this one wasn't going to be important and was skippable, you've got to get it to find out what happens at the end. Next up, I'd like to move on to All New X-Men number 6 by Brian Michael Bendis. I have, as I've been saying a lot, been really enjoying this series a lot more than I thought I would. I have to say that this issue was a little bit disjointed for my taste. It's still very good. There are some important revelations made this issue, especially in classic comic fashion, a reveal at the end that introduces a familiar character to us that's going to play a major role. But I wasn't real sure how I felt about the way this issue was plotted. It's a little bit all over the place and seems to be having difficulty deciding what it wants to do this issue. It feels a little bit, I don't want to say filler, but it feels like it's kind of doing some custodial work. We need to get these characters to this particular point so that we can really do some major stuff in the next issue. This was not as dense and didn't cover as much ground as all of the first 5 issues did, I think. And I was also a bit confused about what goes on with classic Cyclops and Wolverine this issue. Last issue, Wolverine was ready to cut right into classic Cyclops, almost ready to kill him right there on the spot. And there's a scene where they have a major encounter, and Wolverine at first is really hard on him and seems to lighten up more and quicker than I would have expected. And I won't give away exactly what happens, but then Cyclops' answer to that seemed completely out of nowhere. He spends this whole issue saying, "It's not fair that everyone's blaming me for things I haven't done yet." Of course, present-day Cyclops killing Professor Xavier in AVX, and he's upset about the fact that everybody is continuing to blame him for this, and then he does something that seems completely out of character. Now, we haven't seen the aftermath of it, so I don't really know where Bendis is going with it, but just right off the gate, my first impression is it's like it's trying to prove to us that now that he's seen what Cyclops did, he's already kind of going in that direction character-wise. That seems strange to me. I'm also not real sure if that's actually what's going on. And the thing I got the most out of this is more characterization for Jean Grey, who's learning that with everybody realizing they can't trust Cyclops, she's having to become the leader of the original team. And that's all very interesting. Also, her learning how to deal with her powers, and Kitty Pryde helping her out with that, is also really good stuff, and I'm enjoying seeing her having to mature very quickly with both her powers and her leadership skills. All in all, a good solid issue, though I don't think nearly as good as it has been. Next up, we have Venom number 30. This issue finishes up the arc with the UFOs and sets up a new arc with the end of this that's going to reintroduce Toxin. I don't feel like I'm giving anything away just because that's something that Cullen Bunn brought up to us in a podcast we did with him about a month ago. I've been seeing that coming, and it happens at the end here. I am very surprised of who Toxin seems to be, if that really is who it is. So that's going to be really interesting. I'm being cryptic, but anyway, so this finishes up the thing with the UFOs and has Flash Thompson having to deal with not one but 2 alien entities kind of on his person at one time. So Venom kind of took over mysteriously at the end of last issue, and here Flash Thompson has to wrestle with the fact that he has a very difficult time keeping Venom at bay, because he doesn't know if it's really the symbiote that's taking over or if it's the demon that's inside of him, and that's something that he kind of wrestles with the whole issue, and is really dealing with the fact that maybe he's just a vessel for one or both of these entities to actually get some good work done that he's not really good at. He is starting to feel kind of blindsided by because he doesn't know which one it is, by either the Venom symbiote or by the demon that was set up to be inside of him all the way back in Circle of 4. And by the end of this, he realizes that some good things happened while Venom took over, and he had nothing to do with it, and so he's having to really wrestle with that. It's kind of interesting. All in all, this is a pretty solid issue. I'm kind of more looking forward to seeing what happens next with the toxin stuff. This is a good, solid 3-part arc. I think it may have even been able to be told in 2. I don't think there's a whole lot of story here, and it's really pretty action heavy with the UFOs. Next up, we've got Batman Arkham Unhinged number 10, which I find myself looking forward to all the time, and I'm really liking Derek Friedolf's writing, and as I keep saying, somebody give this guy a regular Bat book. I think he's really quite good. So, as you probably know, if you've played Arkham Unhinged, Deadshot has a kind of side story where he's picking off people one by one, and you've got to go find him. And this kind of deals with Deadshot and has the Penguin try to hire Deadshot to kill the Joker. There is a really interesting plot twist at the end where Deadshot kind of double crosses the Penguin, but then there's even something else that's going on, and I won't give away what that is, but it's tied very much into the big giant, one of the big giant plot twists, even at the end of the game, and you'll, I think, appreciate it quite a bit if you've played the game. I like that this series is not like trying to be just readable by everybody. I mean, I'm not saying that it is unreadable if you haven't played the games. If you haven't played the game and you get to the end of this, you'll be really kind of shocked, I think. But what I really like is that this is for people that have played Arkham City, and that makes a lot of sense. You're probably not going to pick this up if you haven't, and so it gives you more information and more fun stories inside of this world, rather than just spending all of its time telling you things that you already know and wasting your time and wasting pages if you've already played Arkham City. This is really supplemental material, and I kind of appreciate that about it. Some things maybe I wouldn't like that as much with. This, I think it makes a whole lot of sense. And I really like that we get some background for Deadshot here. We learn about this tragic story about how he tried to kill his abusive father and ended up accidentally killing his own brother, and what that does to him and how that leads him to become Deadshot. It's a little bit confusing when you get to the end and you find out that big reveal, because then, without giving away what it is, there's a good chance that the background we're given for Deadshot is not actually his background, and I'm a little bit confused about that. Otherwise, I thought this was a really solid issue, and this series continues not to disappoint, especially if you're a fan of the Arkham City game. Finally, on to the Haunting and Insidious Batman number 16. This is, like a lot of these issues have been in Death of the Family, absolutely mortifying, and this takes Batman through the gauntlet through Arkham Asylum. This is by far my favorite issue so far in this event, at least in the Batman title, and I was very impressed with the way Snyder plotted this, and with the way that the Joker is 18 steps ahead of everybody all the way through this. Not just Batman, but the villains that he's hired to help him put Batman through this gauntlet. And the Joker has this really frightening endgame, which I won't give away. This is one of those issues that's very difficult to talk about without giving away major components. And Batman gets to Arkham Asylum and has to go through a lot of trials to get to the Joker, and he and some really haunting stuff, like the Joker forcing guards that used to work at Arkham Asylum to dress up as Batman and the Joker and dance with each other for days at a time without food and water. And of course, everything that he's doing is alluding to the fact that he doesn't like that Batman has sidekicks. And that's what this is all about, is the Joker wants his world to be the Joker and Batman. Those are the foils. That's the yin and yang. They're meant to be together, and they're meant to be against each other forever. He sees Batman as like his soulmate. It's really scary, because everything that he's doing is trying to prove to Batman that all there is that is worthwhile is the two of them. And he's trying to create a spark and a passion back in Batman that he feels like he hasn't seen in him in so very long. And it's like he's manipulating the universe to become the way he sees his relationship with Batman. And the big reveal at the end of what he's been doing about Batman sidekicks really goes in with that, and also with how he uses the Batman's major villains, a lot of them, including Riddler and Penguin and Two-Face, as knights and other parts of like a king's court. And he sees Batman as the king, and he sees himself as the court jester. And he doesn't see Batman's sidekicks as having any place in any of that. Anyway, I can't say very much more, and I feel like maybe I've already said too much. I can't wait to see where all of this goes. It's really riveting stuff. It's still really disturbing stuff, but I think I like that about it. And anyway, I think that's all I have to say about that. Now, let's go on to Dan Torrey, who's going to talk about books that Captain Logan doesn't read.
Hello, and welcome to Things Captain Logan Doesn't Read with Dan. I got a few comments last time saying I was a little unambiguous for their tastes in the intro for the show, so in an attempt to make myself a little bit more mysterious, I put a hat, sunglasses, and a black jacket on today. But let's get on to the review, shall we? We're going to first start off with Indestructible Hulk number 3 by Mark Waid and Lionel Yu. This one focuses mainly on Banner's working relationship with S.H.I.E.L.D. We get to see how that whole dynamic works. Hulk goes on another mission for them, taking on AIM here, and the research team Banner will be working with under S.H.I.E.L.D. supervision is being assembled by Maria Hill here. Waid has put Banner in a position where the Hulk's actions are not taking Banner's life out of his direct control anymore, which is one of the things I really liked about the direction for this book. Banner thinks this is a major victory for him. However, we have S.H.I.E.L.D. in this issue doing the same sort of thing to him. But because they're able to pacify him with promises and opportunities to change the world, he's able to reconcile having every aspect of his life under the thumb of an organization who treat other people like assets, weapons of mass destruction, and numbers to be plugged into a calculator rather than human beings. We see the Hulk going on his mission to destroy the AIM facility, and S.H.I.E.L.D. seems to have a bit more of a sinister purpose for being there than Hulk and Banner realize. And it begs the question, is Banner just working for the same sorts of people he was sent to destroy so far? Are Banner's new creations created under the thumb of a highly militarized espionage organization bound to become weapons just as he himself and his Gamma Bomb have become? These are the sort of questions that are great to ask of a character who's only contributed things that destroy other people to the world, and harken back to some of the classic themes of Hulk comics that made me such a big fan of this character in the first place. Mark Waid's found a great way to forge a new territory with this character, but at the same time retain the sort of classic heart and themes that make this such an endearing concept. That's what I'm really loving about this first and foremost. Overall, this is another great issue, and I can't wait to see where it goes. Next up, we have Captain America, number 3. This one's by Rick Remender and John Romita Jr. on art. This one continues what I loved about the previous 2 issues in attempting to take a look at who Steve Rogers is and what sort of implications his past had on his future. The main crux thematically of this issue is rebellion, the idea of standing up against an established authority one feels dissatisfied with in an attempt to create something a little bit better. We have various scenes in the past and present here with both Cap and Aram Zola that make some very interesting parallels between the two and this whole rebellion idea. I really liked this thematic idea because it's one of the ideas that America was founded upon, and an idea that Steve Rogers obviously believes in, but it's an idea that can be taken in many different places and be interpreted in many different ways. Rebellion can be a rebellion against an oppressive regime, like Aram Zola's influence over Dimension Z. One can rebel against human nature, like Zola did when he created his mechanized body, or even rebellion against unjust individuals on the smallest scale, like standing up against bullies who are picking on someone, for example. Remender sort of ties everything that happens in this issue around that idea, and it works really well. There's also a race of natives from Dimension Z who are similar to Native Americans and many other tribal cultures who were oppressed and killed by white settlers. that tied into this rebellion theme as well, which I really appreciated. Any story that looks to empower a highly oppressed group of people is awesome in my mind. Overall, this was another great issue, and I really can't wait to see where it goes. Rick Remender is making me care about Captain America, a character that hasn't really been able to do anything for me in the past stories I've read. So credit to him. This was great. Speaking of clouding oneself in shadows, we're going to go over to New Avengers #2. This one was written by Jonathan Hickman, with art by the great Steve Epting. New Avengers #2 basically lays out Hickman's ongoing plan for this book and answers pretty much all of the questions that I had heard people asking around the community about issue 1. Because admittedly, even though I did like that issue, it did feel a bit strange in the sheer amount of things we didn't know. But since I've read some of Hickman's previous work and I'm sort of used to that, I just assumed that he'd be explaining everything later, like he always does, and sort of neglected to mention that in my review of issue 1. I'm kind of sorry about that. But this issue blew my freaking mind. And I have to say that if you aren't a fan of multiversal, high-concept science fiction plots that require visual aids to explain, this may not be for you. But if that sort of thing appeals to you, man, I think you're really going to enjoy it. I don't want to spoil too much about the plot, but I'll say this. If you're a fan of Cosmic Marvel, you may want to give this one a look, because the ongoing plot of this book looks like it's going to involve an artifact you may or may not love unconditionally. I was very psyched by the reveal of what they're going to be sort of assembling in here. Other than that, Hickman has some great scenes in here with the Illuminati discussing their various ethical views on the situation that they have in front of them, with each of them having unique and differing views on it that I found really fascinating. The whole exchange with them in the clandestine desk room with them sort of discussing what to do was my favorite scene in the book. And everyone gets to talk here, which is great. Hickman does a great job of distinguishing voices for all of the characters, except for Black Bolt, of course, who can't talk. He also goes out of his way to examine how dangerous a clandestine group of individuals with egos through the roof running the world in secret is. When these people begin clashing with each other and even making secret plans within secret plans that the other members of the group don't really know about. It asks a lot of very heavy ethical questions, and if you're into that sort of philosophy thing, I think you might really enjoy this one. The issue made me feel also like the title New Avengers was warranted for this one, because Hickman has the Illuminati working to combat a threat just as big as anything the regular Avengers have fought before, but are having to get their hands dirty to do it. It's like the Avengers team that was formed to fight the things traditional superheroics can't handle. Where that line ends, the New Avengers come in, hence their name, which made me really happy. I feel like New Avengers as a book hasn't warranted that name in a while or even ever. But this one really got it right, and overall, it's another solid issue, and I'm highly going to recommend this book. I'm really enjoying this one. Alright, so I think that's all the books I have. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next week.
Well, hey, that's all we have for you this week. Thanks, as always, for watching. And if there's anything you'd ever like to send me to review on the Comic Book Vault, you can always send things to our P.O. Box. That's Geekvolution, P.O. Box 14183, Lenexa, Kansas 66285. And thanks, as always, for watching. I'm Captain Logan, and happy reading.